Hi, today I had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with Darth Vader burned onto it. He was pretty crispy, but the rest of the bread was okay.
Was his face printed on the dark side?
Ah!
I'm sure that's in the literature. That's like such an obvious pun.
It should be.
To couple with that product.
It should.
Ready to do this, Drew?
Yeah, I mean...
This is episode 42.
I feel weird.
I feel
like I don't have enough stuff.
This episode is the answer to everything in the universe.
Oh, is 42 a special number for you?
Isn't it? No, isn't it like a whole thing?
42?
Yeah.
Not for me, it's not.
No? 42. 42 is a thing. Yeah, there's like a whole thing. It's like the...
Oh, I'm convinced now.
It's a nerd thing.
Oh, yeah.
We need to actually start this thing. All right, we'll figure this out as we get into it. All right. Well, welcome everybody to episode number 42 of the Goulet Pencast, where fountain pens are still a thing. I am Brian Goulet.
And I am Drew Brown.
And we're here together in person for the first time since last year, July-ish, June-ish, sometime like that, from Goulet Pens, literally in our new sweet Pencast digs. And we're going to deliver a casual and informal, tangential and extraneous, superfluous and extemporaneous fountain pen show where we're going to talk about what's going on at Goulet Pens and in our fountain pen lives. So in today's show, we're obviously going to talk a little bit about the new setup. We have some advice for our former selves, if we could go back in time. What TED Talk that we might give if we had the chance. Never been asked that before. We have some answers about metal pens and which ones can be eyedroppered or not. What's up with that? Bullet journals and ADHD and how fountain pens might help with all these things. Squirrel. We'll spotlight the numbering of Pelikan pens somewhat. It's kind of exhaustive. We feel not super confident about that question, but we're going to try anyway. And we have a tip of the week on cleaning a Lamy converter, which Drew hates to do. And I told him I'm going to make it easier. Also, Drew got a puppy, so I'm sure we're going to want to talk about that and see about that. It's basically like another kid. Yeah, that's what we got. It's weird to be here in person.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yep.
How about some feedback?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so as far as feedback goes, I have some back that needs to be feeded to you. Apologies for a few things last episode. So we got some comments about somebody's heavy breathing throughout the entirety of last episodes.
What are you talking about?
For anonymity's sake, we'll call him Shmry and Shmuley. We might have used some different audio recording devices. We might have had somebody not super great editing it. So there were some breaths happening. So it's fine. Not going to happen again. Promise. Also, somebody, we'll call him Shmru Shmrown, wore a shirt that he thought was really rad, but it ended up doing that crazy thing that shirts with very detailed designs do, where it just like flickered the whole time.
Whoops.
But you know, we're going to just ignore that guy. He just didn't know what he was doing.
Let's call it like an ASMR overstimulation
episode. He just
episode.
got excited about his new shirt and wanted to share it with people. But who knows really what he was thinking. Not me, that's for sure. And then that same gentleman, in his infinite wisdom, was listening to Brian or somebody else read a comment from Lauren. And this guy thought that Brian said Warren. So I just kind of went with that. Or this guy just kind of went with that. So apologies to Lauren. I know you're not Warren. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm sure that person is very sorry for mispronouncing, mistaking your name. So yeah, all that. So you can have that. That's for you. Apologies. Though we did get a lot of love for the fanny packs that we showed off. And yes, I know in the UK, fanny means something different. Ha ha, we get it. Sorry if you were listening to that in public, but that's what they're called on the Rickshaw's website. So that's what we're going to call them. Yeah. They're fanny packs. You can call them belt bags or bum bags or whatever, but there was definitely some interest in them.
Interest was had.
So I appreciate them. There are a number of other pen friends that appreciate them as well.
Did anybody weigh in on which style they liked better, yours or mine?
No, not really. We had somebody said that they wanted one of the blue splattery looking ones. One said they wanted one with a very, very subtle turkey hammock hidden somewhere on it.
Oh, gosh.
But no, I think that Probably they liked my tweed one better, I'm guessing.
Oh, that's just what you're
well,
assuming?
that was the vibe that I got. They didn't say anything about either one, but I could just...
You were just reading that between the lines?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, I was.
Sure. Okay, we'll go with that.
And then we got a message from Kuda Prime, who on the tail of that said, if Goulet starts carrying fanny packs, I'll be very disappointed if a Goulet feed brush isn't included with it. Now, Kuda Prime did not call it a Goulet feed brush, which I'm a little, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, the novel concept was my brainchild. So
was it though?
We'll see. No one's ever considered doing that before. No.
Okay.
Everybody was using like saber-toothed tiger fangs to clean their feeds before I came up with the toothbrush idea.
Yes, of
the
course.
Old dirty toothbrush idea.
That's right.
Yeah. Who knows how different our lives would have been if I had never invented that. 100% my own.
Yes. Well, we'll give you credit where credit's due, Drew.
Which is not here. Which is definitely not here.
I was going to say, where credit is Drew. How about that?
Okay. What you got? Do you have anything?
All right. I got some feedback.
That need to be fed? All right.
A little bit. Got some hungry backs. All right, so one is from Amanda. Says, you guys made my day mentioning my comment. And yes, Brian, elocution is a thing. There you go.
Good words.
Sometimes when we make up words, they happen to actually exist. That is handy. And now, are we just going to end up in a perpetual cycle where we are going to read out Amanda thanking us for mentioning her comment? Because that will never end. Because now she's going to thank us for mentioning this comment, and then we're going to read it again. We've created an infinite loop here, Drew.
Wow. Sorry, Amanda.
All right. Well, Amanda, I guess you're going to get shout-outs every Pencast now. So congratulations. So Nicholas commented about the Justice 95, said, Justice 95 is among my top pens. I do adjust the nib, mostly in order to play with ink shading or cope with lower quality paper. How about that?
Huh.
Soft or bouncy is great to get some variation in width, but mostly affects ink shading by laying more ink. So it's more of a saturation change than it is
like a width of the line change.
Yeah. I think if you don't know anything about that pen, you would think like, oh, I can get wider lines. Not necessarily. The hard is better for fast note taking or when stuck with paper that does not love fountain pens. Okay, there you go. So softer is wetter, I guess.
Right.
Lets out more ink.
And Nicholas wasn't the only fan of the Justice 95. There were a few of them out there. I don't think I heard anyone say like, this is my one pen that I use all the time, but there was a lot of love for him. And there was also another person that said, I never adjust mine, but I really do love it. So it definitely has some fans out there for sure. Fair probably doesn't have enough, I will still say.
Yeah, there you go. I just got a whiff of your coffee as you took a sip there, and I got to say I'm a little jealous. I just got plain water, but you know what? It's all good. Just the smell of it, I feel I'm getting revitalized.
This is what you've been missing.
I have been missing. I should have made myself some coffee. Yes, Drew smells. Well, as this goes on and I saturate my little booster pillow here with sweat,
Brian!
You're going to have your own smells. So welcome back to being together in person. Let's talk about some new stuff, shall we?
Please.
All right. Well, new stuff, obviously, Drew. I think the newest thing we have is this room that we're in. So we've been planning this for a little while. So COVID stuff has kept us apart. Sadly, though, virtually, we have been doing our Pencast for, gosh, I don't know, 9 months or so, something like that. I don't remember. It was summer last year. Last time we did. We've actually done most of our Pencasts virtually, but we got an actual setup here. This is probably the most intentional set we've ever really done for pretty much any video, anything. So it's kind of cool. So Drew sourced out this sweet little neon light, which is obviously kind of the centerpiece for our Pencast. We won't go through like every item that we have here, but we just wanted to highlight a couple things. The shelving that we had, that's all shelving that I made. I'm a woodworker, and I was like, hey, it'd be kind of cool to make the shelves. So it's all live edge walnut, which is kind of cool, which it's not nearly as cool as when you're like close up looking at it, because from this angle where we're recording, you just see like a flat shelf, and it's like you don't really get to see what it is. But I don't know how you make shelving look cool straight on.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Did you get all this?
It's cool.
Where did you get all of this walnut?
Oh, it was locally harvested here from Richmond, Virginia. From I got a tree guy He gets like trees that are felled in storms or that the city's taken down or whatever.
You've mentioned this guy before.
Yeah, and he gets slabs of wood and he's got a vacuum kiln and he like dries it all and stuff like that.
I was going to ask about the vacuum kiln.
Yeah, of course.
I was wondering if he had one.
Vacuum kilns are freaking cool.
They are, especially when you use them to have wood in them.
Yes, absolutely. That's what you do with them. Yep.
Yeah, they are able to make it on fire with vacuum pressure.
Not quite on fire.
It's like it's wood. More. It's like a no. Well, it's you know what I mean.
Of course, yeah. Of course. I just want to see where he's going with this.
It's like a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
Vacuum. Yeah.
Actually, it is.
Yeah.
It is kind of like a pressure cooker,
I know
except
that.
it's the opposite because pressure is the opposite of vacuum.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Who knows that?
That's really funny.
I'll let you. Yeah.
So yes, when you have I feel like now I have to explain it because we've gone on about this. Okay. 30-second thing about what a vacuum kiln is. So when you have wood and you're trying to dry it, normally you heat it up to get the moisture out of the wood so that it's more stable. Ugh. True. Faux pas. Phone going off in the Pencast.
Nobody heard that.
So you heat up the wood and then the steam like comes out and it dries the wood and then it's able to work and it doesn't move as much. Well, with vacuum, you are lowering like the whatever barometric pressure or whatever, and then you don't have to heat it quite as much. So it allows you to dry the wood faster, basically. And it also has like microwaves in it too, so it sort of microwaves the wood as well. So it's kind of cool. It dries out wood really fast.
All right, that was 30 seconds? That was less than a minute, but it was not 30 seconds.
All right, well.
But still, I'm impressed.
Fine. Okay.
I'm impressed. I'm proud of you.
All right, cool. Well, we also got some trinkets. Drew's got his side over here with some various fun toy things. I don't know. Do you want to explain anything? Got toy things.
I will say that I will say that right here.
Right where? There? Yeah. We're not going to say what that is, but if you know.
Yeah.
That is a me and Drew childhood thing that basically nobody else remembers, but we know that it exists. And then, we got a little Lego, or I got a little Lego bonsai tree, which is over here with cherry blossoms on it, which is kind of cool. I built that this weekend with my kids. And little Rubik's mosaic here with the Goulet splatter. And then I got some puzzles and other various things. And the ooze tube, Drew. I know you wanted me
Classic
to bring that.
ooze tube. Yeah, that is a Goulet Pen Company video staple there.
Yeah, I can actually turn it upside down, and it's just over 15 minutes, it'll just goop down. So I figured we'd do that.
Yes, very nice. Love it.
So there we go. Fun stuff. So that's our new set. We're going to record all of our pencasts here as long as we're able. You never know what virus-related things may come about and change our situation, but we're going to do this as long as we can. All right, now for actual products, new stuff, or just probably stuff that you're thinking about. Just a little update on our Northern Lights.
Have we sold any of those?
Events. We might have sold one or two. As you notice, if you go to the site, that they're mostly gone. So that kind of surprised us a little bit. I mean, we thought it would be popular, but not maybe as popular as
These
it
have
was.
been more popular than the stealth greens.
They were very popular. Well, the stealth green, which one? The
big one sold out first.
The big one, the regular size one.
But still,
sold quicker.
It's been less than a week.
It's kind of crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're recording this on Monday, and we still have some left. But by the time this publishes on Friday, we might be out of at least the slims.
The slims, yeah.
But we are going to order more. We did kind of confirm that. It's going to take 60 to 90 days, which is a little while, but it's cool that Sailor is willing to do that for us. So sign up for the email notification if there's a particular nib size or pen size that you want to get, because we are going to do another round of them. So I'm pretty sure of both sizes as well. So that's pretty cool. People are pretty excited.
Another thing that is pretty neat that kind of flew a little under my radar, I don't know about you, but Esterbrook came out with a new Esty, and it is called the Candy, and it is very pretty, very cute, very fun to look at. And it is by Tim McKenzie as far as the resin is concerned. So another diamond cast resin by Tim McKenzie of McKenzie Penworks. And it looks so, so good. It has that nice, rich depth to the colors. It's got some blues, some whites, some pinks, and a lot of shimmer. So it's a very, very fun looking pen. So that did launch. I believe we still have some, but definitely check it out. Even if you don't think you're going to buy it, just look at it because it's just fun to look at. I don't know how you could write with a pen like this and not just be invigorated with just a positive vibe, because it just radiates positivity to me, which I really like. And every now and then I need a pen like that. I need a pen that's just going to give me a vibe that I need. Sometimes I will reach for that. I don't want to reach for a dark pen. I'm like, I need something.
Yeah, like some fuddy brown or something.
No.
It's not inspired. It's not a life-giving pen.
It is. That is the color of nature. is the color of life itself.
Well, I can't really argue with that.
There we go.
It's also the color of chocolate. It's color of chocolate, which when you're talking about candy,
right?
That's what I think
delightful.
of.
That is delightful.
If you're like, is there any candy that you have? I'm like, give me chocolate. Like there's no
Okay, so
other.
you're more of a chocolate person than like a hard candy gummy person?
I will never choose a non-chocolate over chocolate.
See, I always will.
Really?
Chocolate. See, I like to enjoy my candy for as long of a time as possible. Like I like long-lasting candies, and chocolate is never that.
You just get more chocolate. Like what's the? You get enough of it so you can keep eating it. Like what's the? Like
and also, it's messy.
Depends on the form. See, you need the Cadbury mini eggs.
I do love Cadbury mini eggs
because it's Easter time right now.
As soon as Easter's over, though, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get a big honking bag for like half off
if there's any left. I think I've eaten probably 4 or 5 bags.
That's why I can't find any.
There's a whole end cap of them at Target. My kids are onto it now.
Okay,
and they are devouring.
They're like matte finish M&Ms.
Yeah, exactly.
Delightful, and they're very good with coffee because if you put one in your mouth and then you take a swig of coffee, the inside will melt, but the outside will still remain.
Oh yeah,
and then you bite it and it's like chocolatey, oozy explosion of happiness.
So good.
Oh, it is.
I have some in my car. I'm going to eat them on the way home today. I mean, so many of those things. It's terrible. What are we talking about? Pens?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Okay, cool. Well, that's the new stuff we got. Now we got some Q&A. All right, Drew. Q&A.
Q&A. We've got
some questions.
A question here. The first one's going to be directed at you. And I don't mean like it is your turn first. I mean, it is like...
For me.
Yes, for you.
Specifically called out. In all caps, I see as well.
Yeah, so Mark says, question by Brian. In all caps.
You don't have to yell, Mark. It's okay. I'm listening. I hear you.
You said the following when answering a question in Pencast 37. Okay. Should I do an impression of you?
Sure. I'd like to hear that.
You're
good with impressions.
I don't know if I could. If I could go back and tell myself to do things differently, Ink Nouveau. This was about the Ink Nouveau question. Ink Nouveau would be like the 87th thing down the list because I screwed up so many other things ahead of that. What, Brian, are the top 3 things you would tell yourself to do differently and why? Since you have a list of 87, clearly.
I mean, okay, that might have been hyperbole. I don't actually have a list of all the things I would go back and do differently. You know, maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Is that shocking? No.
So you told a fib?
I didn't fib. It was hyperbole.
Did you enact a Fibonacci sequence upon our viewers?
What does that even mean? I know there's like a math term related to that, but I don't remember what it is.
If you need math explained to you,
isn't that
let
like
me tell
the
you.
thing where you have like the shell that like is the thing? What is the sequence?
I don't know. Sure,
it's some ratio, right? Or
sometimes someone just fibs, and I call it a Fibonacci.
That's really funny. I like that. Okay, what are the top? Yes, we all know that I love coming up with top lists of things.
He does.
I'm so good at being concise. So I did actually think of some things. I don't know if this is actually the top 3. I just thought of 3 things. The first 3 things that sort of came to mind as I thought about it a little bit. First off, I really have no regrets because everything that I've gone through has gotten me to where I am, and I don't regret where I am. Even the bad stuff, the hard things. It all makes you part of who you are. So
who knows? What if you went back and thought you were changing a bad thing, but you really just altered the course of history and you ended up like
butterfly effect, right?
Yeah.
Like you change one little thing, you think it doesn't really matter, and all of a sudden everything's different. Alternate timeline. I don't know.
But for the sake of this question, though,
okay. What would I now knowing differently? Okay, so sure, I get the spirit of the question. I think one thing Rachel and I personally have learned a lot about ourselves, our own mental health. That is something that really since we turned probably 30, that's something that really we've gotten a lot more awareness around. So I definitely would have clued myself in earlier on about mental health and watching out for that. We worked really, really hard, had young, kids young as we were growing the business and stuff. Definitely. We went through some stuff that kind of took its toll and we didn't realize what was happening, but really it was strain on our mental health. So
I remember those years.
I would include that in. Yeah, you were there for that.
The kids were there. You were potty training in the office.
Yes.
Having
potty
one
training our
kid,
son. I was potty trained, just to be clear.
Right. You're fine.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
But having one kid and 0 businesses that I own.
Yes.
Even I am just I'm just recalling the normal childhood upbringing that me and my wife attempted, and even that makes my brain melt. So I cannot imagine that whole
I'll be honest,
thing.
it's kind of hard for me to answer this question because I think I've blocked out a lot
I
of
would.
that stuff from that time, because like you put your head down and you just go through it.
Or else your brain melts.
Yeah, you don't like think back about, let me reflect on all the bad, hard things that have happened over the years. No, not really. So yeah, I think we would have avoided a lot of just like having to go through and discover and self-doubt and all these things, just understanding like, oh, we have like things that are, you know, non-neurotypical things that we're dealing with, just like kind of everybody has. Yeah, so there's a lot of that. There's a lot of leadership related stuff that of course, you know, just like most other life experiences, you don't really know what you're stepping into until you kind of go through it. So there's a lot of that. I'm kind of just going to put a lot of leadership related things in general, hiring practices, just defining our company values. We did that, you know, a while ago, but it was like 4 or 5 years in. I could have done that sooner, having just more defined like mission, vision, that type of stuff. I think that we had a pretty clear sense of where we were going, but I could have specified that a little clearer, made that easier for our team to kind of see what we were trying to do earlier on. So that's something that, you know, I felt like I was playing catch up for a while on the leadership front. And then a big one was our previous web host that we were on. We were an early adopter to that platform. It did not go smoothly. It was 4 years of pain and frustration for Rachel especially. That could probably contributed a lot to the mental health issues that we went through. So we would have just skipped that whole experience and not migrated to that host. But you never know. But we're very happy where we are now. And so that's all good. So yeah, some tactical things, some little bit more, you know, I don't know, ethereal things we're talking about. But those are the 3 things that I probably would have clued myself in on a little bit. But I did have the foresight to know when we started this thing. We were 25 when we did this business, and Rachel was pregnant with Joseph. And really it was like when she was deciding to quit her job and we were both kind of going all in. That's when it like felt really real. Cause like I was doing the thing, but Rachel was pulling the wagon financially at the time. So I was like trying a bunch of stuff and trying to make it work. But then once we both went all in, it was like, okay, this has got to happen. And it was kind of like, well, we have to do it now, because we know it's going to be really hard, but we know enough to know that we don't know how hard it's actually going to be.
That's good.
And we're probably not going to do it once we truly know how hard it will be. So we have to do it now while we're naive enough to like make the leap. And that's 100% what happened. Like now, whenever I talk about stuff, Rachel's like, I'm not starting another business. She's like, we are not going through that again. So
I think that one of the biggest markers of intelligence and one of the best life lessons you can learn is just acknowledging how dumb you are about certain things.
Oh,
like that is, it sounds silly, and I worded it silly, but really it's just the acknowledgement of your own ignorance is, I think, a marker for someone who is intelligent, and B, the secret to so much success. Because you know, just saying that you don't know what you don't know, just that realization just connects the dots so much more easier, and it just kind of gives you a good blank slate to then kind of accept new information on. Like, I think that's huge.
Yeah, there's a book that I read recently. I can't remember the author's name, but the title of the book is so fitting. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. So it's a lot about mental health, anxiety, that kind of stuff. That's touched many members of our family. And yeah, that's very much how this business has felt. It's like we knew it was going to be scary. We knew it was going to be painful, but we had to do it anyway. And that's a lot of what it is, just stepping into the unknown.
That's almost more impressive than someone who went into it ignorantly. It's like that person can at least claim they didn't know, but
I think it was both, really. Like we were ignorant of so much, but we knew enough to know how ignorant we were.
Yeah.
We just didn't know what we were ignorant about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's better or worse. I guess it's better. We weren't rose-colored glasses about it. We knew it was going to be hard. We just didn't know how.
Right.
Because we've never been through it.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like parenting. You know it's going to be hard, but you don't ever actually know.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You were talking about leadership and learning, and it reminded me of one of my earliest interviews that I went through, and it was me and Rachel.
Okay.
And I led the interviewee so much. He was just sitting there quiet, and I asked him a question. He was like, yeah. And then I was like, so you would, like, if you were in this situation, you'd probably do this? And you're like,
So like
I would.
asking leading questions
it was
during an interview.
so bad. It was so bad. I look back and I'm like, it's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
And Rachel wasn't much better. We were both just like, we didn't know what we were doing. And we're like, all right, well, you sound perfect. Like, because he was just like,
He was just agreeing with what you both were saying.
It was so bad.
Wow.
So embarrassing. I got marginally better, I'm happy to say. So.
Yes, indeed. Well, we've all learned with our experience.
Yes.
But yeah, there you go. So that's Mark. I hope that satisfies your questions a little bit. Nothing overly dramatic, but definitely some wisdom to be had for sure on our front. All right. Next question I've got. This is from Emily. So Emily asks a question that I've never been asked before, which is kind of cool. If you guys had to give a TED Talk, inspirational / educational, for 10 minutes, what would you talk about?
I think Emily might be the queen of random questions.
Oh yeah,
yeah. She's got them down. Oh yeah.
All right.
She is.
I'm game.
All right, Emily. This was a tough one, but a fun one. So I've got. I like to talk a lot about mental energy and how you need to have you basically need to allot this amount of mental energy to one thing or person or place, and then this, and it's basically compartmentalizing who you're going to give your mental and emotional energy to and how much of it. And then when that is exhausted, that's it. You have to mentally cut yourself off so that you then can either go home and have enough mental and emotional energy to then process the things that need to be done at home versus at work and stuff like that. So I could go on a long time about that because I feel very passionate about it. And I think that if that can be done, it's not easy, but if it can and is done, it's a huge, huge win. I also have a relationship talk that I often give, and it is about how any good relationship, marriage, or partnership has layers to it, and how each of those layers, what the layers are, and why they're important that all of them exist, so that if anybody has been in a marriage for any amount of time or a long-term relationship, that at any given time, one of those layers could be broken or ready to crumble or crack. So it's imperative that there are layers both above it and beneath it so that you're never left with nothing. So I can give a talk on that as well. I've got a pretty lengthy, honestly, you or I could, the challenge would be finding, something that we could talk about in just 10 minutes, not what subject we could talk about, but because I could go on and on about either of those talks. Yeah. But I feel like if I did need to have either of those talks in 10 minutes and really kind of hone it down with a nice visual aid or something like that, those would be two that I could get on board with and present something pretty digestible and halfway interesting.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. My stuff, not surprisingly, is going to be kind of business related because that's most of the experience that I draw upon, since I spend a disproportionate amount of time doing that, despite what I talk about in my outdoor adventures in the Pencast. So I have two kind of things that have really, for the last decade or so, have really stood out to me about the experience of starting a business, raising young kids, especially in a business. And I have sort of like a Michael Scott, like somehow I manage theme to my experience. So one is I had this idea of raising your business because literally we launched our first YouTube video 10 days before my oldest was born, which is still just ridiculous. So we really kind of mark the start of our business with his birth. And so we've seen so many correlations between starting out the business, and we're finding ourselves, we're like a baby that's just pooping its pants, and we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's day and night, and
we've
up
all
and
been
down,
there.
And finding ourselves. And then you kind of get a little bit older, you reach the age of reason. So there's so many parallels, I think, to starting a business from scratch and also raising a kid. And it's been interesting as a CEO founder and also a parent, seeing how many parallels there are to now, our business is in its adolescence.
Yeah, it's like another kid.
Yeah, but our teeth are getting kind of crooked, so we need some braces. And, you can, whatever that means in business terms, I could probably have a lot of correlation between the parenting and the business thing. So something about raising your business or, kid and business and some correlation there. I feel like I could talk about that pretty well.
Yeah,
with my own
parenting your
experiences.
business or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh,
so,
yeah, we could come up with a good title for you.
Yeah,
there.
yeah, something there. Yeah, the title is pretty important when it comes to a TED Talk. So.
Yeah.
And then the other one is, I call it stewardshiping, which is fun because it's a little play on the shipping aspect of what we do in e-commerce here. But basically it's we've been very fortunate to have a business that's actually become successful. But then what do you do with that? How do you kind of give back, or what do you do when you have basically a level of responsibility and a level of, whether it be financial, whether it be influence, whether it be just people that the ability to hire folks and impact your local community. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. And we had that happen to us at a fairly young age, that we have, I feel like we're continually kind of, living up to that responsibility. And so that sense of stewardship of, this is not really just our thing that we created. It's like, there's something bigger here that we are responsible for managing, basically, related to our business. So I don't know, there's something there as well.
Oh, definitely.
So, yeah.
At least you've got the name for that one.
Yeah, exactly. So again, I feel like these are like, I should go like buy the domains or something, in case I ever do something with it in the future, but I haven't done that yet. So yeah, those are my concepts.
Nice.
Cool. All right. Drew, you got the next one.
I do, and it is from Terry. And Terry asks, "Hi guys, I enjoy the Pencast and all of the helpful information. Brightens my day when I watch you both. Question: I know metal barrel fountain pens should not be eyedroppered due to the reaction between the ink and the metal barrel. Do you think that metal ink agitators in the converters should be removed for the same reason? There are some metal floaty bits in converters as well as some cartridges, Brian.
Yes. What's up with that?
What say you?"
Oh, I got some things to say about this. So it makes sense. Like, Terry, just at first glance, you're like, ink, metal, no, shouldn't go together.
Ink, metal, no. That's what they say.
But if you think about it, what are nibs made of? Nibs are made of metal, right? So it's not all metal is equal, right? So now you're getting into like physics and chemistry and stuff like that, right? So not all metal is the same. So you have some metals that will corrode with prolonged contact, whether it be, ink is mostly water and there's some salt and some other chemicals and stuff in there. So you don't want anything that's going to rust or corrode, right? So things like nickel, brass, copper, aluminum, iron, stuff like that. Basically if you leave it outside and it's going to weather patina, something like that, it's not going to be good for contact with ink, right? So that's oftentimes you see pens that are made of things like aluminum, or there's like brass parts in there, there's chrome plated, trim pieces and stuff like that. Those are all going to corrode with prolonged ink contact. Maybe not immediately, but over time, it's not going to be good for the structural integrity of the pen. And you might get some like rusty floaty bits and stuff that are not what you want, that would float around in your ink and clog up your pen and stuff like that. So that's why, as a general rule, you say don't eyedropper metal pens, but there are some metal pens that you can eyedropper. But
most metal pens are made of brass.
Yeah.
And then aluminum probably second after that. Or like the inner parts of a lot of pens are made of brass.
Yeah, there's a lot of
those full metal pens are usually aluminum.
Aluminum, brass, yeah, there's some copper and stuff like that. A lot of times it's more like the trim pieces and stuff that are in there. But if you have an entire metal pen, yeah, I think aluminum is the most popular that you see.
So the agitators that we see in converters and cartridges are most likely stainless steel then?
Probably stainless steel. Yeah, I think,
or gold.
You could, yeah, I doubt they're balls of gold.
I think the ones in the disposable platinum cartridges are probably gold.
Probably not, but so yeah, things like stainless steel, titanium, gold, pretty much any precious metals like platinum, ruthenium, iridium, all these things. Those, any of the really, really hard metals probably would more inclined to do that, but it really comes down to the chemistry, right? So that's what I meant. I don't know specifically what all the agitators are made of, but it's probably stainless steel.
That's the most affordable of all the ones you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you're going to be fine. Like, obviously, if they're putting agitators in converters and cartridges, they know they're going to be immersed in ink. That's what they're designed for. So I've never heard of anybody having an issue with any of them.
Not for the reason of corrosion or deterioration. Anyway.
No, they might not like how they sound or whatever, or they displace some degree of ink. But no, I think that you don't have to worry about trying to take them out of there. They're there for a reason, and they're tested.
Good luck with that anyway. That would not be easy.
You know how you'd really even do that. Yeah, exactly. So, but again, you can eyedropper some metal pens, but it's just not ideal for most metal pens, and it's got to be the right type of metal.
Well, there you have it.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it. I'm not going to go into a deep dive down with chemistry and all that kind of stuff. I feel like we just covered it just enough.
That was nice.
All right. Next question. This is from Bill. It's a nice long one, Drew, so I hope you can stick with me. Bill says, I bought a pack of 4 or 5 very cheap Jinhao pens to use with a different color ink in each. Makes sense? I love the Goulet 1.4 millimeter stub nib. That's not a thing. Maybe 1.5?
1.5, yeah.
Okay. So I've replaced all the nibs on these pens, okay? But all of them fail to keep the nib wet with ink. They're like dip pens where every few paragraph I have to manually feed the ink to the nib. I don't think the culprit is the Goulet nib because I put one of the original Jinhao nibs back on one of them and I'm still seeing the same problem. So now I blame the feed. Maybe they need a Goulet feed cleaner. Is there anything that you can do to fix the feeds, or should I chalk it up to you get what you pay for and throw away the pens and the Goulet nibs, I guess? Don't throw away the Goulet nibs, Bill. Hang on to those. You can use them on something else.
I'm finding that the universe wants me to be a hoarder because every time I throw away something, I find like I need it the next week. So,
really?
Oh my God, yes.
See, I never throw anything away.
I threw away some green polyester pants last year, and now I need them.
What?
Right?
Why do you need green polyester pants?
It's too long to get into, but I'm just saying, you think that you're not going to need something.
Is it for like a costume of some
It
kind?
is,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
But still, I'm like, yeah. Anyway, thank you, Bill. So my first thought was about the nib and the output because a larger stub nib like that is going to put down more ink and is going to be a little bit more demanding. So it's going to want to draw more from the feed, from the converter. But you said that the same thing happened to the original nib. So it's probably not the demand issue. However, those Jinhao feeds are a little stingy with the ink. The ink channel are two very, very thin channels, which... I can also say that I've seen similarly thin channels on feeds that do perform a little bit better. So maybe that's not completely it, but it's definitely a factor. No one would say that those ink channels are massive, so that can be said.
Yeah.
And then I can also say that Jinhao is a very, very value-priced pen. And because of that, the capping might not be great. So one of those factors is probably not the end-all be-all issue that you're seeing. It might be a combination of a high-in-demand nib, a feed that isn't built for a massive output, and a capping situation that is probably keeping that feed a little more dry. So if you added all those three things together, it's probably two of the three that are giving you a hard time. You could mess with your feed. I don't recommend it. I've tried it. It's not easy. It's way more easy to adjust an ebonite feed for additional flow because it's a hard rubber. You can kind of like carve it a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you could also grind it because it doesn't melt under heat.
Right.
With plastic, like the Jinhao feed you're talking with, you can't take a little Dremel to it because it will melt, get disgusting. It'll leave little bits and pieces. Ebonite just kind of like spritzes like ebonite dust everywhere. With plastic, it just melts, creates all sorts of it's like parting it with mush. It's not pretty. And you could use a razor blade and like
or like
really,
an X-Acto knife.
Yeah. You could use a craft knife to get in there. But again, it's not easy to carve out, and
you're hardcore into experimental.
And one little
land.
slip, because you have to put some strength down. One little slip, and you got your finger. So I do not recommend it. I would just say that Jinhao is a great value brand for if you wanted to give somebody a starter pen, or if you wanted just a good pocket pen to beat around, not worry about losing it or something like. They're great for that. If you're a little bit more serious about your writing experience, probably not where you end up. It might be where you begin, probably not where you end up. But at least you've now got the experience to know what you like, and the Jinhao may have helped you get there. However, for long term, you might want to think about upgrading.
Yeah. On the flip side of that, I mean, because they are relatively inexpensive pens, those would be the ones you want to experiment on.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So if you were like, okay, I may or may not sacrifice this pen, by trying to, cut this feed larger or something like that, that watch some YouTube videos if you can. We haven't done any on that because we have not gotten into feed modification that definitely warranties any.
No, I haven't. I have not found a way to do it.
It violates any warranty you would ever
I have
find,
not found a way to do it that I would endorse anybody doing.
I've never seen anybody do it other than the X-Acto knife method, which was disclosed as like, this is not a reliable method, but there's nothing better basically. So yeah, I mean, you're definitely in.
There's also nothing X-Acto about it. You could end up with a huge feed or nothing at all.
That's true. It's hard to fine tune. It's really, you're working with some extremely fine tolerances there. Also, just making sure your pen's clean. I mean, these are some basic things, but if there's some dried up ink in there or whatever, if you have a pen that's already a little bit stingy, maybe the cap's not sealing quite so well, it's kind of dry where you are. I don't know.
It could be a dry ink too. So make sure you have an ink that flows really, really well. Something that's not too saturated of a color. Something a little bit lighter, maybe. Go with like a light orange or something. Yeah,
if Bill's using different color ink and everything, I would assume that there's some variety, and maybe if it's a consistent issue happening with all the pens. Because I was going to say too, it's like a less expensive pen, so it's possible there could be a little inconsistency. It could be some pens are fine, some are not. But if it's a consistent experience across many different pens, then that pretty much, with 4 or 5 pens, I feel like that should pretty much give you a base, of what you should expect.
Yeah, it's probably the nib in the feed.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Or just keep forcing it down. And
hopefully at this point, you know exactly what you like and therefore what you are looking to invest in. Because for the price of a Goulet nib, which I think are great, you could also get yourself, a really solid kind of, $25, $30 pen in that range. You could be really happy with a Twisby or something like that.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Drew, you got the last one here.
We're going to move on to a question from Jess. And Jess asks, fountain pens were a lifesaver due to having ADHD. I use it to add novelty to the workday and keep me interested in my work, as I love changing inks and pens and taking notes. Also, it affects memory, and writing notes is better for recollection than typed notes. Absolutely, I love that. I see a huge overlap with the bullet journal communities as well as fountain pens. Is this you hear often from your customers/community?
Oh, do we hear this often? Yeah. Definitely. There's certainly an overlap with bullet journaling. We carry some bullet journal things, and I know Ryder Carroll, spoken with him many times, the founder of the bullet journal method, and I believe he talks about pretty openly about the whole way that he founded the bullet journal method was because of some childhood learning disabilities. I think ADHD specifically was one of the things that he was trying to overcome when he created the bullet journal method. So totally makes sense to me that there would be a strong correlation there. I don't know that I've specifically had, people with ADHD talking about fountain pens in general. Jess, you actually said it pretty well here about like keeping interested in your work and changing inks and pens and stuff like that. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. Also just like, me personally, I'm very tactile, you know what I mean? So like I have memory related things that are tied to touch, whereas it's not as much like auditory. So if I'm just like listening or something like that, or even if I'm typing, it's like I'm just typing letters and I'm transcribing more than I'm actually processing things. So when I have to physically write it down, because the speed is such that I can't just transcribe, I'm forced to, listen to what is being said and then just make bullet points or highlights or in a few words try to summarize what it is I'm hearing. I'm processing it differently in my brain.
Absolutely.
You can do that with a regular pen. It doesn't have to be a fountain pen specifically. But I know me personally, when I'm using a pen that doesn't feel good in my hand, that then becomes distracting to that process. And I am thinking about, gosh, this pen's not starting right, or I don't like the way it feels or something like that. I'm going to press really hard. My hand's kind of hurting. And that's what I'm thinking about, not the notes. So I actually find that fountain pens like kind of hit this like wavelength in terms of like writing speed and tactility that it's pleasing, but then allows me to kind of get in a little bit of a flow state while I write, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And then I can focus a little more on what I'm listening to in my thoughts than on the actual like process of writing it.
Yeah, for me, it is this, and I've talked about this before, it's a reset for me when I'm a little overwhelmed and I just have, issue over issue and it just piles on and my brain tries to foolishly comprehend all of it at the same time on the same wavelength. It's like it can't separate out anything. It all just goes on top. It's like a very, very thin column that one goes on top of the other, instead of being spread out, And when I have a break, and it can come in a lot of forms, and I've got many of them, but fountain pens is one of them. Fountain pens, writing with a fountain pen is absolutely one of them. Okay. It just kind of shakes up the Etch-a-Sketch and gives me a blank slate, and I'll write a little bit, either just take some notes or just perform some sort of like an ink change, or just remind myself, oh, what color was in here, or what nib do I have on this, and I'll just doodle a little bit. Do one of my standard things where I write the names of something or the phonetic alphabet or something like that, and then I cap it, and I'm like, and I have no idea what I was doing before that, but that's fine. That's fine. That's kind of the goal.
It's like it's like a reset button.
Yeah, it really is. And fountain pens are great for that because, like you said, they engage a lot of senses. There's a tactile sense, there's a visual sense, and sometimes it's an auditory sense. Depending on what type of pen you're using. If it's a very, very fiddle friendly pen, then yeah, definitely you can make some sounds with it. But it does connect a lot of dots, and I find that to be super, super helpful when I'm looking for that reset.
Do you ever find that it's distracting? Like if I don't know, because sometimes I'll, maybe I don't have the best pen cleaning habits, and I go to use a pen and it like runs out of ink, or I find out it's not cleaned, and I'm like, oh, let me go over and clean this pen. I'm like, oh, actually I have others to clean. And then before I know it, I'm not actually sitting down and writing anything. I'm cleaning and taking apart pens, and so there's like a double-edged sword there that can happen with fountain pens.
For you, there's a double-edged sword.
Yes, maybe.
I protect myself from that because I know I don't want to be there. Because yes, absolutely, that would be totally distracting.
Yeah,
but no, for me, not so much. Bottom line, I can get distracted from just about anything. So might as well minimize that, right?
Yeah. I will say it's less distracting being in this room while we're recording.
Yeah.
Normally we both have windows in our offices.
Yeah, I was looking at the bees last time.
There were a lot of bees. I will say, Drew commented about the bees, and then after we recorded, I walked over and I was like,
look at my bees.
I was like, holy crap, there's a lot of bees in that tree. There were like
freaky.
Dozens of like bumblebees like up in that tree.
Yeah.
It was pretty freaky.
There's a lot of bees.
But they're friendly. They're pollen.
Yeah, we like bees.
There's a lot of pollen. A lot of pollen in Virginia right now.
Have you used your windshield wipers for it yet?
Oh, yeah.
I did this morning.
Drew and I both drive black vehicles, so it's like coated in yellow dust. It's pretty disgusting. So going back to the question here, I've definitely mentioned in previous pencasts about mental health and journaling and fountain pens and kind of how there's like a really strong correlation there, and we keep hearing it as a theme, especially from people that are like, I've struggled with XYZ mental health things my whole life, and I discovered fountain pens, and it really has opened my eyes and changed my life in so many ways. There's something there. I don't know exactly what, but I would love to explore that more. Maybe there could be a TED Talk about that. I don't know, to go back to our previous question, but some pretty cool stuff there that's probably worth pursuing further. So thank you for the question, Jess. I really appreciate that. Made us think a little bit deeper about it. And I don't know if y'all have any other like things that, mental health things that you find fountain pens are good for, or whatever relate to. We're super interested in that. So leave us a comment. We'd love to know more. All right. And now we're out of the Q&A, and we're going to go on to the tip of the week. All right. Well, the tip of the week this week comes from a comment that Drew made to me about cleaning out his Lamy converter. He was like, how do you clean these things out thoroughly? And I was like, it's not that big of a deal.
We also got a comment on YouTube about it. It's definitely something that people are curious about.
Yeah? Okay.
But sadly, it can't really be done very well at all.
That's what Drew thinks, but I seem to have figured out something that Drew hasn't, or whatever. I don't know. Drew's a little milquetoast in his approach of taking apart the converter,
you
I think.
Not just call me a milquetoast.
Just in this respect, just in your converter disassembly. So Lamy converter, right? So I got the Z28 here. Is this the common offender? Is this the one that you find?
It is, but how do I know you didn't?
Does this vex you the most?
Yeah, but I don't know where you got that. Did you
I did no modification to this consider whatsoever.
So you say.
I did pull it out of my desk drawer. I don't know if I've previously disassembled it.
So what you're saying is that it has been compromised.
Well, I definitely took it apart right before we did this because I needed to remember how to do it. So it has been taken apart before, but it was not difficult. Anyway, so the problem that Drew was expressing to me is that when you use the converter over time, ink can get behind the seal. Like, even though there's a double wall seal, it's a pretty thin seal there, and it can get back there. Honestly, I don't worry about that with my converters. If there's ink behind that seal and it stays there and it doesn't come out when you clean it, it's probably not going to mix in with your ink.
I still don't like looking at it.
Well, it's inside your pen, so you don't see it anyway.
I know it's there. I don't like it.
You could just not let it bother you, and you would be fine.
What?
But okay, so it might bother you.
Okay.
So that's what
if
this
I
is
had
for,
a button
right?
for things just to boop not bother me, I would be hitting that button a lot.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. The other challenge that you have is you got this little black
Yes.
plastic insert
Oh.
piece, and this is kind of unique to Lamy, right? Like I don't think any other converter has a removable middle piece like this,
Do
right?
you think it may be because the stuff they make the outside of the stuff they make the outside of?
Do you
Anyway,
think- what?
can the stuff the clear plastic? You think maybe that can warp or deform over time, whereas the black stuff might be a little bit more resilient, or to double wall it like that might withstand repeated installations a little bit better?
Honest to goodness, I've never really thought to ask them why they have it as two separate pieces.
Why they do that?
I don't know. I mean, you got the pegs on here, which is kind of a unique thing to Lamy. I don't know if there's like a different manufacturing process, but that shouldn't have anything to do with it. I don't know. You would think they could just mold it all as one piece,
Right?
but that would make sense though, if maybe the black plastic served some different purpose.
Yeah,
I don't know.
give it a little extra beef.
So anyway, the issue that Drew has is that ink can sometimes get caught up behind the little black
And
piece
that's
here.
also upsetting.
And that can upset him. Neither of these things are actual problems. You could just kind of get over it and go about your life. I'm giving you permission.
Dare you?
I'm giving you
I do not
permission
feel seen at all.
Well, I'm recognizing. I'm hearing you, Drew, and I'm letting you know that our friendship will not be compromised. I will
Okay.
think nothing less of you.
After calling me a milquetoast, you
If you
think
just-
that our friendship has not been compromised?
I think I questioned whether you milked us. I don't think I actually said whether you were. So if you have ink behind your piston seal, or if you have it hanging up here, if you're cleaning out your pen, or if you're cleaning out your converter thoroughly enough, then I don't think that anything that would be left there would be actually problematic. That's my opinion, because it's going to be such a small amount of anything, and it would not actually come into much contact with anything. So what I do, I don't actually have water to like demonstrate this or anything, but basically when I go to clean out my converter, so I do it outside of the pen. I always remove my converter. I flush the pen with a bulb syringe, because we're talking about Lamy pens here. That bulb syringe works way better than you screwing and unscrewing the converter, which is super annoying. So I take the converter out, and then I clean the converter separately on its own. So sometimes you can just draw the ink up in the converter and
The water.
dump it out. Yeah, sorry, the water.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. If we do, okay, we've already inked it, but we're cleaning it out. So you're drawing water up in there. And then, some people use a syringe. You can use an ink syringe with water, and you can actually flush it through the opening of the converter. That is sometimes helpful. It's sort of like a bulb syringe type of a benefit that you're getting, but with a converter, because bulb syringe won't do anything for your converter. But that's not really going to solve either of those problems.
Nope,
I've tried. Hanging up in there. Yeah. So the first thing that I do that specifically doesn't do anything for behind the seal, but can help in the little ink that hangs out behind this little black part here at the bottom, is I fill it about halfway with water when I go to clean it, and then I cover the hole with my thumb, and then I shake the living daylights out of it, because then that water just like is kind of going everywhere, and it's kind of being forced to interact with as much as would realistically come in contact with when your pen is filled. And that will usually get most anything out of there. Now, there may be some water still kind of hanging up behind there. And when you have something that's in such close contact like this, it's not actually much water that's there, but the tiniest little droplet there, when you have this in between the black part and the clear part, it's going to like spread out over half the thing. And it's going to look like there's a ton there, but there's not actually much of anything there, which is why I say just don't worry about it. But it can be removed if it's truly bothersome. So personally, that's all I do is I just shake the living daylights out of it, and I'll do it a couple of times until I'm shaking it and there's no color change. It's clear water coming out of there.
I've tried that. It didn't work.
Okay, so if you want to be...
Also, a syringe basically does that too. You really jet a syringe hardcore in there. You get whoosh.
Okay, fair enough.
All the power.
So I think
the water.
I think it's perfectly okay to just stop there and then just move on with your life. But you can disassemble the converter if you really want to.
I can't emotionally move on after that. Okay, show us how to disassemble
if you can't emotionally move on.
All right.
So get something. This is a Goulet grip, a well-loved one that's like all torn up, but whatever. That's how you actually use them. So this, or honestly, you can like use a rubber band, or if you have a rubber glove, whatever. Bike inner tube, anything that you have there. You just want something that gives you a little extra grip, because trying to grab it just with your hands is really tough here.
Okay.
So,
most of the time I've tried to grab it with my hands.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Well,
Maybe that's
then
the
that would be
problem.
more difficult. That would make it more difficult. I can understand why you'd struggle there. So grab your whatever gripping object. The piece you're trying to get off is this metal shroud right here. So this is just a shroud that's holding the piston mechanism onto the back of the converter body here. And I find that if you kind of twist it a little bit as you pull it off, then that is going to give you the best likelihood of success. So I've got it partially off there. Boom.
Okay, so that's not just cosmetic. That actually holds some stuff on.
Yeah, this actually is functioning.
Oh.
So yeah, that's why I wanted to kind of take it apart, and why I wanted to show with the phone here especially. So as you can see here, if you're watching the video, if you're watching the audio, I will try and explain to you what's going on. So yeah, this mechanism.
That thing just came right out.
Yeah, it's kind of friction fit in there a little bit, but it'll unlatch itself. So it's friction fit, but it's got these 3 notches here. So the plastic itself will bend just a little bit where it holds on there. And you can see it's got this like little raised, this is all very, very small and slight, but it's got this little raised portion right here. So what that's actually doing is that's kind of fitting in and grabbing the converter a little bit. And then when you have the metal shroud over top, that is locking it in place.
Oh yeah,
So,
like a little plumbing doodad.
Yeah.
Like on
Just
a
like that.
P-trap, they have the little grippy rings.
Yeah, exactly. A
I don't know what those are called.
grippy P-trap ring.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's doing. So it's a pretty elegantly simple, design, but you have to be able to get that metal shroud off, and then you can just pull this thing.
Okay, you know what? I have not been using a grip. I don't think I have one of those in my office. I know.
There you
Yeah.
go.
I
Okay.
should try
Okay.
that.
So you really don't need to take it apart much further than this. You can if you want to, and you can just remove that part out. I wouldn't take it apart any further than this, because you're just kind of asking for trouble.
Right. There's no benefit to it.
No, not really.
At that point, you can clear out all the ink from the actual gasket.
Yeah, and honestly, it's plastic on plastic. It's not a high amount of friction or anything like that. If you want to throw a little silicone grease on the threads inside the converter, I mean, it's a converter we're talking about here. It's like $6. So if you want to spend the time on it, go for it. It's your pen if you want. A little silicone grease on here will make it just glide.
Yeah, it's not going to hurt anything.
Yeah, but if you have a lot of ink that's gotten behind the seal, there could be a little ink on here too. Just kind of wipe that off. And then there's a little bit of an O-ring like gasket type thing happening here. A little bit of silicone grease on here will actually help it to operate smoothly up and down inside the body. So if you got that, then I find the best tool to actually clean it out is just a cotton swab. So it's almost the perfect diameter to be able to get in there, and you can clean it all out and get all the junk out. And then, you can get a little bit of that kind of friction. Sometimes if you get some of those inks that hang up in there and leave a little bit of that pinkish hue or something like that, put a little bit of dish soap on here, a little bit of pen flush on the Q-tip, and then actually with physical contact, it will help to kind of scrub it and get it better. So, and then sometimes without removing this part, even just using the swab, you can kind of jam the swab in there and it'll actually like wick away the extra moisture and stuff. So even just removing the back off of there, and you don't want to remove this part, if you don't feel like doing that, just the cotton swab can help to get most of that moisture out, and maybe that'll be good enough for you. But if not, then you can actually remove this piece. And it's just friction fit.
You can just shove it out,
kind of snaps
right?
in place. Yeah, you need to shove it out, but I don't know if a Q-tip itself will do it. I'll try it, but it's like sort of not really wanting to do it. So I have a kind of an arsenal of tools. I have a little like screwdriver thing. No, that one's not going to reach. Paper clips.
I feel like a chopstick would do really well here.
Chopstick might do well.
Well,
yeah.
no, it might taper too much to actually get all the way in.
Maybe it depends. You basically just need something long and thin to be able to get in there. So again, this is all based on your own level of comfort. If you want to kind of push it, I don't know if you can kind of get a grip on there. It's not like flush against the side, so it is a little tough to get in there. So maybe I don't have the right tools to actually.
You didn't rehearse this, did you?
No, not quite. Another way that you can do it.
All right, this is the last of your tools, Brian.
What I bought. I know. I'm like really having to. Well, actually, I wonder if I don't know if that would fit in there.
See, I used to be able to do this with the Z24.
Yeah,
like
that
the old one.
It did remove easier, but it's not that vastly of a different design.
But I haven't done it with the new one, and I think that the
Here's what I'm gonna do. So I just bent over a little hook.
Oh.
So I'm gonna try hooking it.
Oh my.
And pulling it out.
Okay.
See these I don't know. These paper clips are weird. They've got like a coating on it.
Oh yeah, those are weird.
So it's kind of fatter than it needs to be. So we're gonna see if I can actually do this. If not, then you'll at least get it in concept. But I feel like I want to try to redeem myself a little bit after the last the ink disaster.
That left me blue.
Yeah. Okay, so I got a little hook in there. So I'm gonna see if I can. This coating on this paper clip is not helping me out.
That was a good idea, though. Hey, there we go.
Nailed it. Okay, so obviously you got to be careful because
it's kind of bouncy.
It's pretty thin plastic.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I feel like the old ones weren't that thin.
It's actually soft. I think it's soft.
Yeah, the old ones were not like that. The old ones were solid, unless I'm just totally not remembering.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's probably it.
So there you go. So that's how you get it off, and then of course you can use cotton swab or whatever the heck, a paper towel that you kind of twist up. And you can get it. So the only thing is, I wouldn't do this all the time because you're gonna mangle the thing over time.
Yeah, chunk it up a little bit.
It's pretty
there.
soft. Like you can see there, I'm like squishing it. It's like
it is doing that.
Yeah, and then
I just heard it.
To put it back in, you just push it.
How about that?
Okay. That goes in, and then this goes back in. It doesn't go in any specific way, which is kind of nice too, because basically, if you've ever reassembled like a TWSBI pen, you have to put it in a very specific way.
Yeah.
Right? Because it screws in.
But not with this.
This is just press fit. So literally, as long as that thing is in place, you just press it in, and then you're good to go. And then the metal shroud just slides back on, which putting it back on, I find you can do it with your fingers.
I feel like my problem is that I have not been able to get that metal shroud off.
If you do that, that will change the whole game.
Yeah.
So get something that has a little bit of grip to it, and then get that metal shroud off, and then I think it'll be good to go. So again, this is like, it's not a super expensive item. They're very replaceable, readily available. But me personally, when I'm cleaning out a converter and I find that it's like got a little bit of friction to it, because I know how to take them apart, I'm like, this could be so much better.
Yeah, why not?
I'll pull it apart, put a little silicone grease on there, clean it up, and then it just feels so good. So
all right,
there you go. Pro tip.
I can say you've convinced me to give that another try. I see the error in my ways, and
I think you're a good representation for what any reasonable person would do, right? So it's.
I mean, it's clearly not meant to be disassembled. Lamy didn't say, "Here, let's build this thing that people can be easily serviceable."
Yeah, they're not like advertising it as a user serviceable thing.
No, I mean, if it were, it would be threaded.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can take it apart without destroying the thing. You know what I mean?
That's always good.
So I like to talk about it just because it's something. It's like a pro tip. It's like if somebody's using their pen a lot and they want to have a better experience, I think you're fully able to do that with this converter. Other converters are not so easy to do that. Most of the standard international converters now are press fit, and they are not meant to come apart.
That's true.
Pilot's converters not really meant to come apart, whereas they used to be. So
Platinums are easy to disassemble.
Platinum is the best because theirs is threaded.
You know what I think? You know what I think is the best? The old Monteverde clear converters.
Oh yeah,
I loved those. Those were great. You could fit them in anything standard international. They were a little bit shorter.
Which they don't feel as solid. They're a little like flimsier feeling. In my opinion.
They're not bad.
Yeah,
they're not. I loved. Those are my favorites because they're super easily disassembled. Obviously, they're more cheap than more affordable than the platinum converter. So
yeah, true. The platinum ones are expensive.
Yeah.
But there you go. A little pro tip on the line converters. Maybe.
Okay, I appreciate that, Brian.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Glad. Hopefully that can help you all out too. All right. Now we're going to go on to the pen spotlight.
I'll stop this for you.
Oh, thank you, Drew.
You're welcome.
How gracious.
That's why I'm here.
I'm going to move it out of the way.
Get that out of here.
All right. So next thing we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about Pelikan and their numbers in our spot.
All right. So this one came as a request on the YouTubes. And
all the tubes.
I figured we could talk about this, but Brian and I are just going to come right out and say, not experts on this.
We're not nobodies, but Pelikan's been around a long time.
It is.
And we are not vintage Pelikan experts. So we can't say like definitively what every Pelikan model that's ever been made.
This is more like what currently is, not necessarily what has been.
That's pretty safe way to disclaim it, I think. So all this to say, we are maybe spotlighting these Pelikan numbers, not trying to be the end all be all authority, but we're opening up the conversation for others who may know more to be able to engage in the comments and expound upon what we're talking about. But we can at least give you a pretty decent idea because Pelikan has a lot of pens that, especially if you're looking at them online, a lot of them can kind of look pretty similar.
Yeah, the question we got was specifically about the numbers. Someone asked, like, you've got, what's the difference between 600, 800, 200, 400, and then some of them are 800, 805. Like, if you don't know what you're looking for, those numbers mean nothing to you.
Yeah. It's kind of like you have certain cars where you're like, the car model is just a string of numbers and letters. And
Yeah,
you're like, I can tell there's some kind of convention here, but I don't know what that is.
Right. Mazda's a great example. We have a CX-5, but there's also a CX-3 and a CX-9, and like, what even is that?
What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're different sizes, like Pelikan.
Yeah, actually, not a bad analogy to go with there.
I know all the cars things.
Yes, clearly. So, disclaimer out of the way, we don't know everything, but we'll try and at least point you in the right direction. So, the kind of like TLDR summary version of all this is basically the lower the number, the smaller the pen. The larger the number, the bigger, and usually more expensive the pen. So that's pretty good way to go about it. So, and I'm talking mainly like the first number. So, before we get all into like the numbered pens, we'll talk about the Pelikan. They have the Twist and the Pelicano and the Pelicano Junior and all that. We're not really talking about that stuff. That's different. It's the Souvron series, right? So it's the M 200, 400, 600, 800, 1000, whatever.
And they're all piston.
Yes, they're all piston. Generally speaking, there may have been other versions. I don't know.
Right.
At
Asterisks
some point
on everything.
in history, yeah. But generally speaking, you're talking about piston-filled pens, and usually the smaller the number, the smaller the pen. So starting out with, there's a 101N or like there's a 300s in there somewhere. Those are mysterious to me. They're
older.
They're older, and they brought some back, but they're kind of vintage callbacks. I don't know. That's where I'll just say I don't even really know how those fit in, to be honest with you. But as far as the regularly offered stuff, it basically starts with the 200, and that's a steel nib pen. So that one's kind of different from the rest of them. It's smaller, steel nib pen, still got a nice piston, still writes great, and it looks, modeled after the other ones, but it's not quite as intricate, not as many like embellishments like trim rings and stuff like that. So that's a good one to kind of just start with if you're looking to get into Pelikan. But there's going to be a jump in price, a jump in, writing experience and stuff like that going past the 200 to the 400. So the nibs are getting bigger. The bodies themselves are getting bigger.
And that's where the gold comes in, right?
And gold starts at the 400, yeah. So now within these numbers, you have like the M200, M205, M215. So like the first number designation refers to, I'll call it like the model series. And then you have the
size.
The
first number is like
size.
the size. Okay.
Yeah, that's your like CX3, CX5, that kind of thing. So then beyond that, you're actually talking about the trim. So the color of the trim. So it's actually pretty sensical. So if you have an M200, it's going to have gold trim, like yellow gold trim.
There you go.
If you have a 205, it's going to have rhodium trim. So if you look at that, whatever the color of the pen body, that's usually like what you call they're usually pretty straightforward with some of them. It's like black with gold trim or whatever. But some of them have, specific names. Like I think about the, they had the 805 Ocean Swirl, right? Mm-hmm. So, if you have Ocean Swirl, it's like that's the resin, right? That's the resin material. But it's the number designation tells you about the size of it and the trim. So the 00 designation on the end there of the model is the gold trim. The 05 is the rhodium trim. And then the 200 series is the one that has the 15. Maybe they've done it in some other ones, but not regularly. But the 15, it has metal rings like within the body of the pen. So you look at the M215, there's different versions of the M215, but it has these metal rings kind of inside the body. So it's also rhodium color, but it has rings. I don't know. That's just kind of how they do that.
So would like a 210 be gold rings?
I don't think I've ever seen a 210, but that would be cool, wouldn't it?
I mean, it would be interesting. I'm going to remember it as though since 00 comes before 05, I'm going to think gold is more vintagey, and it came first.
Okay.
Gold's a more vintage trim, So
okay.
it came first.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.
I need that.
Okay. Yeah. It does get a little
I
confusing.
need that.
But basically, once you know these numbers, you start to see the pens and you just like, oh, okay. It sort of just kind of makes sense. And that's largely what we want to talk about.
But it is kind of hard. Like if you saw, a 400 next to a 600 or a 600 next to an 800 or an 800 next to a 1000, and you had and they weren't side by side, it'd be really hard to tell which one was which.
Yeah, if you're just looking at like stock images on a white background,
right,
it's really hard to tell what actually makes them different. If you're not looking like a specific color or some special edition,
like you could tell between like a 1000 and a 600 probably, just because the nib takes up a lot more real estate in comparison to the grip. But yeah,
but if you don't know the pens that
like an 8 and a 6, I would have a really hard time telling the difference between that if you put those both against a white background.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
I mean, tough. So there are some differences between, we could get more detailed about the differences between the different models, but I don't think that was the nature of the question.
No,
it was
mainly
more
about the numbers. Yeah.
But yeah, basically you go, 400 and 600, those are both going to be gold nibs. I'm trying to remember what the difference is between those two. I think there's a jump in size there. But it uses the same size nib.
At some point, the piston hardware becomes metal as well.
That's the 800. So the 600 has mostly like plastic innards, so it's not as heavy and it's a little thinner. The 800 is where you get some like brass parts and stuff, and that's where it gets to add some weight. So the 800 and the 1000 are bigger pens, but they also have more internal weight because of the pen parts. I know that, and the nib is going up in size. But I think the 400 and the 600 uses the same size nib. I think just the body is slightly bigger on the 600, if I'm not mistaken. I would have to like refresh that, but I think that's how it goes. But either way, you're getting a little more as you go up in size, a little heavier, a little bigger, whatever. But that pretty much gives a designation. But they're all generally proportionally fairly similar and stuff like that. Similar color offerings on a lot of their standard pens, but they do special editions a lot of times only in a particular model. So that honestly is most of the time what dictates which ones people buy, is because the special editions have so much more demand for them, at least for what we see.
Yeah,
than the standard line.
That's what we normally focus in on.
Yeah. So it's like if a color comes out in an M600, well, that's just what you get because that's what they came out with in the color.
Yeah. It's rare for us to ever have all of the models that we've talked about, the 2, 4, 6, 8,000, all in stock at the same time. Like I don't know if we've ever had even the opportunity to say like let's go pull some from the warehouse and compare them.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've ever had that opportunity.
Yeah. And that also makes sense too while you think about like some of the limited editions you see, they're pretty much going to be on like thousands, the bigger ones, the biggest ones. Yeah.
Sometimes the 8.
Yeah, sometimes the 8, but usually the 1000 because that's the flagship, size. That's more of like a Montblanc 149 size.
Yeah, it's right up there for a lot of folks.
It's big.
Grail pen.
It's a huge nib. It's a pretty sweet pen. But anyway, I think the M600 is probably like the most popular. That's the nice middle ground. It's comfortable for people with all pen like hand sizes. And
we also see a fair number of special editions in that size as well.
It's probably why. Like it's probably a more popular universal like size pen and price point. So they do a lot of special editions, and that seems to be pretty good. And then the 800 has a few as well, but that gets up there in price a little bit. You're in
there's a jump
over 500 at that point.
All about those brass innards.
That's right. Somebody's got to pay for them innards. There you go. So hopefully that cleans us up a little bit on Pelikan. There's a lot more vintage stuff to get into, which we won't, but it's a pretty fascinating brand, and they make great pens. So glad. I
would love to know if someone out there, which I'm sure there is, knows the difference between why they do the M. I would love to know that because I know that there's also an N, and that has to mean something, right?
I've seen the end at the end, like the M101N.
What does that mean? Tell us. Please.
All these things. I have a couple of books on like Pelikan that I can crack open.
You don't have time for that.
Try not to super deep dive. We went long on the converter thing, so if y'all want to know more, let us know, and maybe we'll dive into it more in a future episode. All right, now we've got done with the education. Now we get to talk about some nonsense and the what's happening. All right, Drew. Tell us about this dang puppy, man.
That's
all we want to hear about.
That's all that happened.
I'm looking into the camera lens, and all I'm seeing is a reflection of this Corgi, like from your shirt in the lens, looking right at me. This whole episode. I'm like, tell me about your puppy.
That's right. Well, we got a puppy, Brian.
Yeah, you did.
This is our third Corgi. Third overall. We did have one pass away a little over a year ago. That was our first together pet after we got married, almost immediately after we got married. And so he was 12, and that was a sad moment. So about a year later, we finally got another one after searching for a rescue for a year and not being able to get one. We wanted a Corgi because we were familiar with the temperament. We knew how big they were going to get, and that's a big issue when you are committing to that responsibility. I think it's really important that you know what temperament you're looking for, what set of responsibilities you're going to be bringing into your home. And
plus, you had 2 corgis.
Yeah, so that
play well together.
Yeah, we wanted to be responsible about that. So we did want that same breed. So my wife Shannon, she ended up saving up for one all on her own, and we did the thing. So she selected a breeder super close by, only about 4.5 hours away.
I know people that have driven a lot further. Believe it or not.
I tell you, it's so crazy to me that I can drive 4.5 hours. And we're not even on the east coast of Virginia.
No,
we're like central Virginia, and yet I'm still driving 4.5 hours, and I'm still in Virginia.
Yeah,
and it's not a huge state. It's
pretty big. It's long.
It's deceptively long.
Yeah, and you were driving down like into the corner.
Yeah, and I mean, you went to college out there.
I did. You went further than you drove like 2 hours past. I went to Virginia Tech, and that's like still 2 hours past Virginia Tech. Yeah,
that's still a ways out there. So
long state.
But we got the puppy. His name is Felix. His name is Felix. I want to say like Alex. I'm like, that's not a dog name.
No.
That's name is Felix. Yeah. So yes, Felix the puppy is here. His ears haven't popped up yet, so he doesn't have pointy corgi ears yet. They're floppy corgi ears, but he's peeing on everything. So there's that.
As one would do.
As puppies are wont to do.
Yes.
But my son's not terrified of him anymore. When we first told Archer that we were going to get a puppy, he started crying because we had told him we had told him just like in a casual conversation that we forgot that puppies are bitey and they have sharp teeth
and he just like really latched onto that.
That's, of course, in true Shannon fashion, and every member of Shannon's family, worst case scenario, just instantly into his head. So yeah, every time he does that, I look at her, I'm like, this is you. This is you.
You did this.
Congratulations. So he just started crying. Like, what kid starts crying when they hear, we're going to get a puppy? Ah!
Wow.
So anyway, he loves him, obviously. He's like, he's not biting at all. I'm like, well, great, but he might.
He might.
I'm just saying.
Oh, great. Just feed that fear. Feed that fear.
God.
Yeah.
So either way, he's adjusting well. He's crying all through the nights, though. Like
the dog, not your son.
No, not my son. Yeah, he's fine.
He's past that stage.
He's past that phase.
Yeah.
But the dog is whiny. He's in the crate downstairs. So luckily he's not keeping us up, but he's being a little dramatic about things.
Well,
but
he doesn't know what he's going on.
No, it's delightful. It's delightful having a little puppy running around. But we did pull up some rugs and hid them. So
oh, really?
Yeah, we had the living room rug is now under the...
Oh, is it because of the pee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But we have ruggables, so they're the ones you can wash in the thing. So there's like a base layer, like a Velcro sort of grippy layer, and then you can just take the rug up and throw it in the washer.
I've never heard of this. That's cool.
They're a little bit more expensive, but dogs won't ruin them with their pee.
More expensive than having to get them clean constantly.
Which is where we were, or throwing them away. Because if you don't find the pee, then all hope is lost, and that thing is just doomed. Yeah. So, but even still, Brian, like the couch is on it, and there's a chair halfway on it. So taking it up and putting it down, we're like, no. I can do that sometimes, but
wait till it's house trained. And then
yes, then the rug can come back. Yeah. So it'll come back, but for now the rug is gone. Yeah. And but all is well. We have a puppy now. We're trying to remember all the things we did 10 plus years ago on how to properly housebreak a dog. So
good thing like nobody wants corgis anymore over the last 10 years.
Gosh. Everybody was. I blame the internet for making them so popular.
Yeah, you were like trendy, before they were cool. You can literally say I had corgis before they were cool.
Well, before Instagram, Instagram ruined it for anybody who wants to buy a corgi because good luck. You're not going to Disney in the next 10 years. You have a corgi now.
You have a corgi. Yeah.
But that's been it. He's adorable. I'll put up a picture and video or something for everybody to meet Felix.
If you don't do that, there will be an outlash.
Yeah,
an outlash, backlash.
Outbreak of backlashes.
Yes. So we'll definitely make that happen.
So that's been my week, and then last week I will say that I did not write with yellow ink, like I said I was going to do.
Yeah, we were supposed to talk about that. You were really excited about that.
I am still excited. I just was too busy. I didn't write like anything last week.
Okay.
I was editing the Pencast.
Yeah,
and
that's
it sucked.
True. That's true.
Ah.
Yeah, not only did Drew edit the Pencast, but like I tried to record it from here. Normally I do it at home. I forgot the like plug-in for the camera, so I had to use batteries, and we went through like 3 batteries, so we had to keep stopping it, and he had to stitch it all together. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Apparently I was breathing weird.
I don't know if it was you. It might have been.
It was the mic, probably.
You were using that extra little piece to add on, but anyway.
I usually use that anyway. I don't know what happened.
It was a different mic though, right?
It was a different mic.
Yeah.
Same brand. I don't know.
Either way, somebody said, I didn't expect the appearance of Darth Brian.
All right. Well, maybe I should add that to one of my things that if I could go back in time, I would fix. Just go really fresh like that. I would use a different mic.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
But that's it for me. I'm sure there will be more puppy updates because it's a new world, and it's giving me kid flashbacks too.
Yeah?
Well, the whole like just let him cry.
Yeah.
When if he thinks that crying helps, he's gonna keep crying. I'm hearing
you
myself.
don't want to reinforce that behavior.
Right, I'm hearing myself say a lot of the same things I said when Archer was a baby. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, see, I just have a hamster, and she's like all spazzing out and stuff, and I'm like, have fun in your cage. Like, you can feed yourself, you can get your own water, like, you're just peeing everywhere.
Not ruining any carpets.
Yeah, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. No, we can't let her out of the cage because she's an animal, and she'll just jump and run away, probably. She's total spaz, but anyway. That's cool. Yeah. Puppies are fun. I love other people's dogs. It's my favorite.
Yeah,
I love a dog, but...
Yeah, puppies are kind of the worst. Like... Honestly,
well, they have to be really adorable so that you endure everything you're enduring.
Babies are kind of the worst too.
Oh, yeah.
Like I like that first.
It's very romanticized. Babies are a big old pain.
Oh, they're the worst. Let me skip that first year in a second. Like, please, no. Like, little kids are great. Little dogs are great, but puppies and babies, like, no. Show me a picture.
Yeah.
That's enough.
We have selective memories that help us just remember the cute, really good parts and not the 98%, which is just pain and agony.
What did you have going on?
Yeah, speaking of my own kids, so they had spring break last week, so they did not have school. They made the most of it and did almost nothing.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, I was like, because I'm a pretty hard driving dude. I do a lot of things, as you all know, if you watch the Pencast. Not only are we doing the business and the parenting thing, but I also like have projects.
Not hard driving with the kids, like you personally. You mean.
Well, okay. I mean, no, I'm not like mean to my kids.
I wasn't implying that.
I work hard just in general, and that comes across in how I parent my kids. Like, I have expectations for how clean the house should be, which is not that clean. Really, like, my expectations are pretty low.
Based on what we've said here, it would seem that.
But I'm like not just like cool
apple cores and socks everywhere. I mean, you've said this.
I mean, that does happen, but I'm like, I don't think that it should be happening like that.
Yes. So expectations are okay.
I'm trying to like teach my kids to become I view them as like they're in the process of becoming adults.
Yes, absolutely.
So like that, they're not just like, oh, they're kids, whatever.
Right.
I mean, a lot of times I do, but there's like things that I'm trying to teach them to build life skills and all that. And they view all of that as getting in the way of watching YouTube videos and playing Minecraft.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm okay with you not wanting to be doing the thing I'm trying to teach you right now because it's not related to Minecraft. So, I whatever. I don't know where I'm going with all this, but, kids had spring break. It was great. They had a blast. They stayed up way too late every single night. And then we had to like get them readjusted back to reality. When school was starting, we're like, y'all are going to have to get up at, 7:15 or whatever. And yeah, they did okay this morning though. So yeah, but laid pretty low, did some cool family stuff. We went to King's Dominion because we have season passes. It's a theme park that's like 15 minutes from our house basically. So we have season passes this year, and my kids really don't like roller coasters very much. So we go, and Joseph just basically wants to get Dippin' Dots and then leave. And I'm like, this is like $10 for a Dippin' Dots. I'm not paying for that. So I basically go. He doesn't want to
bring your own Dippin' Dots.
Yeah,
we have Dippin' Dots at home.
We get it every now and then, but he knows the value of $1, and he knows it's like very expensive. Anyway, so we went there with some friends and had some fun. I rode Twisted Timbers, which used to be the Hurler. We're going
Oh,
nerdy
yeah, I
deep.
remember the hurler. The hurler used to be Wayne's World themed.
Yes, which
pretty rad.
shows you how 90s that was.
Well, that was when King's Dominion had a theme. Now it has no theme. It was Paramount theme, so everything had like a movie vibe. Now it has like no vibe.
Cedar Fair bought it, so it's whatever.
They have Peanuts characters, and that's it.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
No, it's not.
I mean, my kids know Peanuts characters.
Oh, okay.
Hanna-Barbera, they didn't know any of that.
That's true. Well, that was before Paramount.
Yeah, I guess so.
It was Hanna-Barbera stuff. They had like Captain Caveman running around, but then they did Paramount, and then they had no characters walking around at that point.
Yeah, okay.
They had, the Twilight Zone stuff.
Yeah.
The Hurler. They had Wayne's World. Nickelodeon stuff they had.
Yeah, Nickelodeon. That's what it was.
Yeah.
The kid thing was whole Nickelodeon themed. That's right.
Yeah, but now they have like no cohesive theme. Even the Peanuts characters, there's no like...
Yeah, that's true.
There's no ride themed after them. They just kind of walk around.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they have rides named.
I'm not trying to rain on your parade.
Anyway.
King's Dominion is still cool, but it's not as cool. It's not as cool as Busch Gardens. Let me just say that.
I'm trying to have a contest out of this. Dag on, Drew. Jeez. You got to drive an hour to get to Busch Gardens from here. And I'm not going to do that on like a Wednesday night because that's a weekend.
Oh, you went on a weeknight?
Yeah, we went on a weeknight.
Oh.
Yeah, because we were going with we're all working. Like,
that's right.
That's right. It's like our kids had spring break. We're like, Rachel and I trying to get stuff done.
Oh, no, I figured you would go on a weekend.
No.
All right.
No, we didn't.
Bold move.
It was bold, but you know what? It worked out really well.
Did you ride any roller coasters?
I did.
What'd you ride?
My kids didn't want to go, so I was like, I want to ride it. There was no lines. So yeah, I did the drop tower, drop zone, it used to be called. It's where they raise you like 250 feet in the air and then it just drops you.
Oh, you like those?
Oh, it's my favorite.
Oh no, those
my favorite.
Too scary.
I did it twice. Yeah, it was the best. There were like 6 people on the thing. It was awesome. Wow. I love that one.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'll totally ride stuff like that. But as I'm aging, I can only ride like maximum 3 roller coasters in one visit. Otherwise, I like just feel terrible. Like my headache and stomach, gut, blah.
I'm way more lame now. Like I'm like done with roller coasters pretty much. Unless someone like with me, it's like, yeah, let's ride this. And I'm like the only one. I'm not gonna be the only one not to ride something. So I'll ride anything. Okay.
Yeah.
But if someone else is not doing it, I'll be like, okay, cool, I won't do it.
Cool, I'll sit here and get Dippin' Dots.
Yeah, I love just eating food at theme parks. It's like the best part of any theme park, whether it's King's Dominion, Busch Gardens, Disney World. If I could get into any of these parks for less money and like had like a wristband that doesn't allow me to ride anything, I would absolutely do that.
Yeah.
Just like give me a turkey leg and
there you go.
Set me loose. That's fine.
My kids are going to have a good time. Basically, the reason we got the season passes was for the water park in the summer.
Oh.
Because they're going to have a blast with that.
Water park's fun.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we did that. And then it's springtime, so there's yard work to do.
And pollen.
Yeah. But I successfully got both my kids to help me pull weeds, which was... I did not expect that to happen.
Wow.
I always give my kids lots of opportunity. I pay them like it's work because I'm like, if I'm gonna have to do all this work and y'all are willing to help me,
there's a value there.
Like if it's like picking up your own socks, I'm like, I'm not paying you for that. But if it's like doing a project around the house, doing something that helps like the whole family or something that improves our property, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll pay you for that. And normally they're like, I don't want to go outside. There's a bug, and then they run inside.
Yep.
But they actually stuck with it and it's starting to click. With Joseph especially, he's 12 now and he's like, if dad's got work to do and I do the work and he pays me, I then have money and I can buy things. And I'm like, yes, since you were 4, this is what we've been drilling into your head.
Okay, good.
So yeah, he's starting to do it and I'm so proud of him. He helped me like several nights or like during the day, night, whatever that I had time. He was helping me pull weeds. He helped me mulch and everything, like kind of getting dirty. He doesn't like to get dirty and he was doing that stuff and I was like, oh, dang on, okay. Like the kids will actually help if I just offer it 1,000 times. So that's kind of cool. Really enjoyed working with both my kids and we built like Lego sets together and stuff like that. We had a lot of good kid time on their spring break. And so that was pretty much my whole thing. So yeah, mowing, mulching, weeding, all that fun yard stuff.
I don't mind that stuff.
Breathing in the pollen.
Oh yeah, that sucks. Yeah, I don't mind like the aesthetic stuff, like because there's like an element of strategy to it, like like all right, let me even the mulch here, put a little bit more in this corner. You step back, you look like a little bit more here, a little bit more there.
Yeah.
That's more engaging to me. I don't mind that yard work. Cutting grass though is like just monotonous drivel. I cannot. That is what I have no patience for.
Really?
Oh yeah, planting things, mulch, trimming shrubs. I love that. That's like artistry.
Yeah, I did do a lot of that.
Oh yeah, snip, a little bit here. I feel like I'm a Edward Scissorhands or something, making a nice llama topiary.
There you go.
All into that.
Okay. Yeah, I dig that. I like mulching because you like, especially when your old mulch is like all dried up and kind of so weathered, and you put the fresh mulch down and you're just like, oh, it looks so clean. Yeah. And then
I used my hands last time. I was like, I always use a rake.
Really?
And then
spread the mulch by hand.
Yeah, it was so much better because I was fine. I was like getting the rake in between the shrubs and flinging it everywhere. And then I just got down. I was just like, Rah!
Oh yeah, if you're going in between shrubs, yeah.
And I'm like, this was so much faster and so much easier. Like, you get dirtier, but yeah.
Yeah, I had 14 cubic yards of mulch to spread.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, so I was using more than my hands.
I do have more than my old house, though. I got 10 bags, which I thought was going to be enough. Wasn't even close. I need like 20,
Yeah.
Which, I mean, whatever. I can probably only fit 10 bags in my car, so it's fine. I might do more later. We'll see. Doesn't matter. No one cares.
I had to get mine delivered by a dump truck because it's like 14 yards is a lot of mulch.
I never want a pile of anything on my property.
It was a pile.
I would just say that. That's where I draw the line of home improvements. When it becomes a pile, that's when someone's getting paid to do it. It's not me.
See, I love it. I'm like, bring me the piles.
No, see, I'm a very firm believer in my home being a no wheelbarrow home.
Oh, wow.
No. So once it exceeds like hand carrying capacity,
see, I have like
shut it down.
I have a multi-wheelbarrow home. I've got like the traditional wheelbarrow with just like the wheel in the front of it, but then I've got like the garden cart style like wheelbarrow. It's got all 4 wheels and it's like a dump cart. So you can
also
dump
I have nowhere to put that. Like I have nowhere to put one.
Oh, well, that's why you get multiple sheds. No, like I have. God. Yeah, you just keep adding sheds as you acquire garden tools and stuff like that. No. Yeah,
I have one little room that's attached to the house. If it can't fit in there, someone's getting hired.
So you don't have a tool acquisition problem.
I don't want a tool acquisition problem. Like I feel like that could be a problem for me.
Oh yeah,
because I see the fascination.
Not a problem.
I see that. I have. No, my brother lives very close by. I love borrowing things from him. It's great.
That's true. I'm a great person to borrow tools from
because you live not near anybody. So
that's
kind of also the worst.
That's where so it's great. So I can offer it to anybody and seem like a super generous guy, but nobody ever wants to take me up on that. That's not true.
That's messed up.
That's not why I do it. I genuinely love sharing my tools with people, but no one wants to come out. No one wants to do all the crazy work shenanigans that I do. So whatever. I have another crazy project I got into, but we're going long and I'm not going to get into it. But
I will need a tamper at some point because I'm not buying one of those.
I have a tamper.
I know you do. Tamper. You probably have 3.
I only have 1 tamper.
Okay.
But, you can use like a sledgehammer if it's a small area.
I also don't have one of those.
Oh, I have several of those. Like maybe 3 or 4 of them. Actually, we can use the small ones that I have. I might have 6 or 7. Anyway, that should about cover it for that stuff. We got a couple of company updates, so let's get into that.
So Brian, update us on the company.
Company. Well, we have done a couple of videos recently. We did one on fun fidget pens.
We did.
And then, we intend to publish this. We will have published this one by the time this broadcast. Drew put together a video on soft nibs versus flex nibs, kind of like what we were talking about with the Justice 95.
100% comprehensive, full of facts.
Yes,
specific, absolutely. Detailed measurements.
For sure. You can hold him totally accountable for his completely objective views.
You expect that, you will be disappointed.
Scientific proof, yeah. So we'll have that one coming out. It will already be out or will be coming out soon, depending on how this week goes. And then just a quick update for the website. So we made a change around October or so last year to consolidate our shipping options because we just had so many and it was getting ridiculous. But with that, we lost some of the really affordable shipping options that happened on the really, really light domestic packages. So we made some tweaks and we now reintroduced that. So if you are looking to get stuff that's like under 8 ounces, 12 ounces, whatever, you may have some more affordable shipping options, like under $5 range kind of stuff for that. So it's tough because, shipping is expensive and it costs an unbelievable amount for us. It's not free. There's no such thing as free shipping anywhere. So you're going to have to pay for it at some point. But, we wanted to give more attainable, more affordable shipping options for people who are truly buying like really small and light things. So we have that as an option. So if you're checking out on the site, you may see that as an option now, in addition to the standard shipping that we have. So hopefully that'll be something more accessible, especially for people that are like newer to the hobby. Maybe they're not buying, as much and they're trying to ease into it. Wanted to give some more affordable options. So that is what we got going on at the company, among, other things, but that's the notable stuff. All right. I think that we're about to wrap this thing up, Drew.
Yeah, let's go ahead and
wrap
it up.
How do you like the room? You dig it in here?
I think it's great.
Yeah?
It's not nearly as hot at the end of this as I thought it would be.
I got to admit, I thought I was going to be a little warmer than I am. I'm warm, but not like crazy warm.
Now, come holiday season, when we've got the holiday sweaters rocking.
Sweater time might get a little rough, but
I feel like they're going to be cuffed up to at least there. You're going to need to, you could always do like a sleeveless holiday sweater.
A sleeveless sweater. Yeah.
That would look amazing.
Yeah. Or maybe at least like a baseball sleeve, like a 3/4 sleeve sweater.
Super stylish.
Whatever, I'll make it happen. Yeah, like a cutoff. Like I can't, not a sweater vest. That's different. But I'll do a cutoff.
Right.
Yeah, maybe with like really deep. Like you have the guys at the gym.
What you need
wear
is
the shirts that like are really deep, and you're like, I can see like half.
Like that's not even a shirt. Yeah.
Like, what is
what
that?
you need someone to knit you a pair of holiday cargo shorts.
Ooh.
Nice, warm winter cargo shorts.
I don't know how I would feel about that.
Do you ever do cargo shorts with like a base layer pants so you can have your cargo shorts but also not be cold?
No, I don't layer my pants.
I mean, like wear a base layer. Like,
what does that mean? What is a base layer of pants?
You've never heard of a base layer?
I mean, yeah, but
the things you wear to keep warm in the winter under normal
clothes. Are you talking
clothes.
like legging type things, like full full on pants underneath the shorts?
That's what a base layer is. Yes.
Because you can wear shorts like under the shorts. I'm trying to conceive of like, why would you do this? Why wouldn't you just wear pants?
I'm saying because you like your cargo shorts and you say that is.
But you can buy cargo pants. Like, why wouldn't I just buy cargo pants?
Do you?
I actually don't have any cargo
That's
pants.
my point. Yes. So you could have.
Because they don't make cargo jeans.
Leggings.
That's why. Yeah, not leg. I'm not picturing like 80s workout leggings.
No, but you got the right thing.
Like I do cycling and stuff like that. So
there you go.
And running.
That's a base layer. Usually,
actually, I will do base layer like when running.
Okay, so you know what a base layer is.
I guess I've just never really heard of. I've never thought of the word base layer in terms of my legs.
Okay.
Because my legs don't get hot. That's not where I feel my warmth is in my legs.
I agree, which is why I don't wear shorts because my legs are always fine.
Yeah,
and you're I don't know how Drew doesn't wear shorts. Well, because you're in the legs.
I don't know.
Okay,
I got to think about this now. You got me curious.
I'm because I know that you are a cargo shorts man, and if you wore a base layer, you could wear your cargo shorts year round. There's a guy at Archer's at school. I just call him Shorts Guy because he wears shorts year round.
Okay.
And with a base layer, so he can always rock his shorts. Oh my God, there's Shorts Guy. Every morning.
Yeah, I never really thought about that, Drew. You're opening my eyes here.
Base layer.
See, I don't know. I'll have to really give this some serious thought. That seems like it would be weird to me, but I mean, it's weird enough. I don't care. Whatever. It's fine. Let's wrap this thing up, shall we? We are in Turkey Hammock Zone for sure. Thank you all for watching. Please leave us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you think of the new set. If you see any particular goodies back here, you want to call it out, please let us know. Yeah, we'll duck to the side a little bit, Matrix style, so you can kind of see what's going on back there. If you have any needs for fountain pen things, gouletpens.com. Great site to check it out. Highly recommend it.
I've heard good things.
Yep. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Instagram. You can look at Drew's Corgi. I'm just kidding. We're not posting that on our channel, but we could. If you want to email us, you can hit us up at pencast@gouletpens.com. And I have a random fact for you since it's going to be Easter this weekend, Drew. If you've ever enjoyed an Easter basket with plastic eggs and plastic grass,
I have.
Then you can thank Donald Weider, the man who invented both. Weider not only holds the patents on these holiday staples, but he also holds a total of 1,413 U.S. patents.
Whoa, Donnie.
Including ones for water-based inks, flower pot covers, and decorative wrappers. Compare that to Thomas Edison, who's famous for having a lot of patents and inventing things, who has just 1,093 patents. So the man outworked Thomas Edison, and I would say, rivals him in terms of his impact on the world.
Absolutely.
With his plastic grass. And
absolutely.
I'll have to look into this water-based inks thing a little bit more. I don't know if that's fountain penning specifically. There's a lot of different types of ink, but I don't know. I'm kind of curious.
All right, Donnie.
Maybe there's something,
Good job.
something deeper there. So there you go. Hope you all have a wonderful week. We will see you next time. Thanks for watching, and right on.